One of the sayings I can't stand when I advocate for FASD is, I drank alcohol while pregnant and my child's fine. Oh, they're fine? Did you know there's 428 co-occurring conditions linked with FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure? Sharon? That's what we're going to talk about today, is that specific comment and how it frustrates me to no end. How do you know that your child is fine? How do you know when we just learned over the course of like 5 years that there's 428 co-occurring conditions with FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure? How can you be sure that the alcohol that you drank while pregnant didn't affect your child in some way? And one of these co-occurring conditions is actually ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And in some studies, it shows that people with FASD are 10 times more likely to have ADHD than the general public. But a lot of the times, because FASD is so stigmatized, that the doctors will actually just go with the ADHD diagnosis and won't even touch FASD. Which means that child is missing a whole bunch of other issues they could be dealing with. Did you know FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure is also linked to vision issues? So how do you know that maybe your child ended up needing glasses? How do you know that's not a genetic thing? Or maybe it's linked to drinking alcohol while pregnant. Another weird one that a lot of people don't know about is that FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure is linked to dental issues. So I roll my eyes every time I get in the comment, I drank alcohol while pregnant and my child's fine. And then part of me is like, can I see his dental records? Like, did he need braces as a kid? Did he have to get palate surgery at a young age? Because FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure is linked to malformations of the palate. Did you know that people with FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure are more at risk to cavities? Yeah. There is a condition called enamel hypoplasia, which I actually have, and I actually didn't know that I had until very recently when I was talking to my doctor about it. She was like, yeah, you have enamel hypoplasia. That's why you ended up with so many cavities when you were younger. Yeah, my parents did a very good job in brushing my teeth and making sure they were okay. So no, it has nothing to do with my parents and me taking care of my teeth. It has everything to do with this condition. My teeth were so bad that when I was 6 years old, I had, I think, 2 or 3 root canals and 11 cavities, and I had to go to an outside doctor to deal with it. I had to get a specialist to deal with my teeth. And 2 of my teeth from enamel hypoplasia were so bad that he actually had to cap them. Not because I had cavities, but because what happens when you have enamel hypoplasia is you end up getting pits and grooves in your teeth, food gets caught in them, and you just don't have the enamel to fight cavities and bacteria and plaque. So he noticed that my enamel just didn't exist on those 2 teeth, that he decided to cap them. I have 2 silver caps in my mouth. I just wanted to give you a definition of what enamel hypoplasia is. A common dental defect that occurs when teeth are developing, resulting in thin or missing enamel. It can affect both baby and adult teeth, and it can appear as pits or grooves or discoloration on the teeth's surface. Symptoms include teeth sensitivity to hot and cold, and increased susceptibility to cavities. People with FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure are more likely to have heart issues than a everyday kid. So heart murmur, hole in the hearts, issues with circulatory system. Our lungs could be affected. So asthma and FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure have a link also. Did you know there's a link between FASD and chronic ear infections? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that segues into we are more likely to have issues with our immune system. Our immune systems can be weaker, and we are more prone to autoimmune diseases because our immune system is damaged and doesn't work correctly. Rheumatoid arthritis is another one. People with FASD are more prone to getting arthritis and autoimmune issues regarding to arthritis. Did you also know that 90% of people with FASD have some form of mental health condition? 90%. A lot of times people with FASD tend to get diagnosed with said mental health condition before FASD is even talked about. A lot of kids with FASD struggle with behavioral issues. It is not normal for some toddlers to have, they're not even temper tantrums, they're full on meltdowns because they cannot regulate their emotions. They cannot regulate their body. And that is due to FASD. They don't have executive functioning, they have actually executive dysfunctioning. Children have trouble regulating their emotions in general, and then you add FASD on top, and it's another level of emotions and aggression that can come out, or behavioral issues that you do not know could be linked to FASD, prenatal alcohol exposure, and drinking alcohol while pregnant. Another one we don't think about is you are putting your child at risk to suffer with addiction later on in life. Alcohol is an addictive substance that you have now introduced to a fetus and could very much affect in their 18, 19, 20 when they start to experiment with alcohol and maybe even drugs. They are more susceptible to getting addicted. Do you want that chance to cause your child to have an addiction? Oh, another one that I forgot about is FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure can affect our skin health, our hair health, and our nail health. We are prone to have issues with those parts of our body. A lot of our issues can also start happening as we are adults. A lot of people think that FASD, all the symptoms happen all at once, and that is not true. Our symptoms and the way FASD can affect us can, I'm trying to explain this, can sort of trickle down. So the things that we don't have issues with as children or teens, we might have issues with as adults. And one of the great examples I will give is I was just diagnosed like a year ago with 2 sleeping conditions. One is I have low to moderate sleep apnea. It is so low to / moderate that I don't need a machine yet. But my sleep doctor is like, we'll have to see as you get older if you need a machine. And the second sleep disorder I deal with is REM behavior sleep disorder. And basically, short form, my body does not paralyze itself when I sleep, so I physically act out my dreams. I thought I was just having really, really bad night terrors, but it didn't make sense because I've had a pretty good childhood and I haven't had any like CPTSD issues. So the nightmares just didn't make sense and it was correlating to REM sleep behavior disorder. And a lot of parents with newborns and toddlers and young kids can really struggle with like sleep training and putting kids to sleep and getting them to stay asleep. So yeah, there's a lot of questions I want to ask these parents in my comments that say what they say, and I'm like, I want to ask like, oh, do they have issues with sleeping? Do they have issues with hyperactivity and paying attention? Do you notice that they might be having trouble seeing and might need glasses? Are you having dental issues? Are they complaining about chronic pain and they're only so young, or complaining about like body aches? Are they having trouble with any food? And are they seem to be struggling with certain intolerances? Or did they have to get surgery for a cleft palate? There's so many things I would like to ask these people in my comment section that could be linked to prenatal alcohol exposure and FASD. FASD is not just low IQ and learning disabilities and behavioral issues and conduct disorders. FASD and prenatal alcohol exposure is a full body disability, which means it can affect every part of your body and in many different factors. So many factors that I'm sure I missed a ton. FASD, prenatal alcohol exposure, and advocating against drinking alcohol while pregnant can be very, very frustrating. But I make these videos so that people can understand the risks and the misinformation that comes with FASD. Remember, FASD has 428 co-occurring conditions linked to it and prenatal alcohol exposure. Drinking alcohol while pregnant is not worth the risk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye!